Many Iranians are becoming disillusioned with the Ayatollah.
A revolution is underway in parts of the region, a Jesus revolution. An unprecedented number of Muslims are forsaking Islam and choosing to follow Christ, especially in
of the Ayatollahs and a nation led by the empty promises of their Islamic.
A profound transformation is sweeping across Iran, a Jesus revolution. Millions of Muslims are turning away from Islam and embracing Christianity in numbers never seen before. Imagine this: churches overflowing with worshippers, while attendance at mosques dwindles. This isn't just a rumor. It's a reality shaking the very foundations of the Islamic Republic. Over 10 million people are defying centuries-old traditions, making a bold and unexpected choice to follow Christ. What's driving this dramatic shift? Could this unprecedented surge in Christianity signal the unraveling of radical Islam? Stay tuned, because the truth behind this movement is absolutely mind-blowing, and it's a story you don't want to miss.
Today, the news is full of the threat of war in the Middle East. At the same time, a revolution is underway in parts of the region, a Jesus revolution.
Although the official figure is that around 1 million Muslims in Iran have converted to Christianity, many independent sources and experts believe that the actual number could be much higher. Some reports even estimate that the actual number of converts exceeds 10 million, suggesting that a strong underground Christian movement is taking place across the country. This not only reflects a profound change in beliefs and thinking, but is also a sign of a spiritual revolution that is spreading at an unprecedented pace. Could this be the beginning of a new era for Iran? When most people think of Iran, Christianity is not the religion that immediately comes to mind. As the largest Shiite Muslim state in the world, Iran is deeply rooted in Islamic traditions and known for its strict enforcement of religious principles. The country's Islamic Republic has built its foundation on the principles of Shiite Islam, enforcing conformity with an iron grip. However, beneath this surface of strict theocratic control, an unexpected and profound transformation is quietly unfolding. A surge in conversions from Islam to Christianity is reshaping Iran's religious landscape and challenging the very foundations of its theocratic regime. For decades, the government of Iran has tightly controlled religious expression, often punishing dissenters harshly. Institutions like the infamous morality police, tasked with enforcing Islamic laws, have employed oppressive measures to maintain religious conformity. One such example is the international outcry following allegations of a morality police officer shooting a woman for violating mandatory hijab laws. Such incidents highlight the rigid enforcement measures that characterize the regime. Despite these efforts, dissatisfaction with the status quo is widespread, and cracks in the religious and political system are becoming increasingly apparent. Signs of this dissatisfaction are striking. Reports indicate that approximately 50,000 of Iran's 75,000 mosques have closed due to declining attendance. This statistic alone signals a broader crisis of faith within the country. Senior Iranian cleric Mohammad Abul Qasim recently attributed the closures to a significant decline in patronage, reflecting a growing disconnect between Iranians and the religious institutions that underpin their society. This disillusionment correlates with another staggering development. An estimated 1 million Muslims in Iran have embraced Christianity. The scale of this shift is so significant that the term Jesus revolution has been used to describe the phenomenon. According to a joint study conducted by the Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, and the international radio ministry The Tide, around 1 million Iranians have accepted Christ. This is not merely a statistical anomaly, but represents a profound cultural and spiritual shift. The reasons behind this movement are deeply intertwined with Iran's political, social, and economic struggles. For many, Christianity offers a stark contrast to the authoritarian and punitive nature of the Islamic regime. It provides a message of hope, love, forgiveness, and a personal connection to God, principles that resonate deeply with those disillusioned by decades of oppression. The challenges facing Iran's population are manifold. Todd Nettleton, a voice of the martyrs, highlights some of the key issues. Iran suffers from some of the highest drug addiction rates in the world, widespread corruption, and a population where over half live in poverty. For many Iranians, these systemic failures have tarnished the appeal of Islam as practiced under the current regime. Economic hardship has been particularly significant in driving dissatisfaction. Years of international sanctions, coupled with government mismanagement and corruption, have devastated the economy. The resulting poverty has left many Iranians questioning the promises of the Islamic theocracy. A recent survey conducted by the Netherlands-based Gaman Institute found that 80% of Iranians desire a democratic government, rejecting the Islamic Republic in its current form. This widespread disillusionment with political Islam has created fertile ground for exploring alternative spiritual paths. In this context, Christianity has emerged not just as a religion, but as a symbol of liberation, both spiritually and socially. The faith's emphasis on personal freedom, democracy, and human rights, often associated with Christian-majority nations, appeals to those yearning for equality and autonomy. For many, converting to Christianity is more than a spiritual choice. It is a deeply personal act of resistance against a regime that tightly intertwines religion and politics. Unsurprisingly, the Islamic leadership in Iran has responded harshly to the rise of Christianity. Conversion from Islam is strictly forbidden, and apostates often face severe punishments, including imprisonment and even death. The government's attempts to suppress Christianity are part of a broader strategy to maintain control over the population. Yet, despite the risks, the movement continues to grow. Underground churches and digital platforms have become hubs for Christian worship and education, providing a safe space for believers to practice their faith and connect with others. The internet, in particular, has played a crucial role in spreading Christian teachings and offering support to new converts. Todd Nettleton notes that the appeal of Christianity in Iran goes beyond dissatisfaction with Islam. Converts often cite the religion's emphasis on compassion, forgiveness, and personal connection to God as key factors in their decision. For many, the teachings of Jesus offer a sense of hope and agency that was absent in their previous religious experiences. In a society weighed down by systemic injustice and broken promises, the message of Jesus stands out as a beacon of light. The words from Matthew 11:28-30 resonate deeply. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." These verses are not just comforting. They are a bold promise of peace and relief for people who have endured years of hardship. For many Iranians, Christianity offers exactly what they have been searching for: a sense of freedom and solace in a system that seems to have abandoned them. In a country where oppression and hardship have become part of daily life, Christianity is becoming more than just a religion. It is a symbol of personal freedom and a way to push back against a regime that ties religion and politics so tightly together. Turning to Jesus is, for many, like finding a way to breathe again. The rise of Christianity in Iran reflects a broader shift in the nation's social and spiritual landscape. It is a response to the failures of the Islamic regime, as well as a testament to the resilience and courage of those seeking a better life. The movement is not just about rejecting one religion for another. It is about embracing a new way of life, one rooted in hope, love, and the promise of a brighter future. This transformation is happening quietly, but its impact is profound. As the movement grows, it is reshaping Iran's religious identity and challenging the very foundations of its theocratic government. For a country that has long been defined by its Islamic traditions, the rise of Christianity represents a significant cultural shift. It is a reminder that even in the face of oppression, faith and hope can flourish. In Iran, the Jesus Revolution is more than a spiritual awakening. It is a powerful statement of resistance and a testament to the enduring human spirit. Iran's government has built its power and legitimacy on a strict interpretation of Islam, wielding religion as a foundation of political and social control. However, a growing number of Iranians are embracing Christianity, a choice that transcends personal faith. In a country where religion is deeply intertwined with state authority, converting to Christianity has become a quiet but profound form of resistance. By adopting a faith that directly challenges the regime's narrative, these converts are making a statement. They are rejecting a system that has failed them for decades. For many Iranians, the cracks in the system are impossible to ignore. Widespread poverty, rampant government corruption, and one of the highest rates of drug addiction in the world have left the nation disillusioned. The promises of justice, dignity, and prosperity through the regime's interpretation of Islam have rung hollow for millions. In this context, Christianity offers a starkly different message. Its teachings on love, forgiveness, and hope stand in sharp contrast to the harsh realities of daily life under the Iranian regime. Christianity's emphasis on a personal relationship with God, one founded on compassion rather than control, feels like an antidote to the pervasive despair many Iranians experience. The allure of Christianity has not gone unnoticed by the Iranian government. To the regime, the growing number of Christian converts represents a dual threat, a challenge to its religious authority and a potential destabilizer of its political power. In response, the government has launched an aggressive crackdown. Underground churches are frequently raided, Christian converts are arrested, and public expressions of faith are closely monitored. The regime's fear is palpable. If people find hope and meaning outside the state's version of Islam, the foundations of its control are at risk. Despite these dangers, the movement toward Christianity continues to grow. Many converts rely on digital platforms and secret gatherings to practice their faith and support one another. It is a quiet revolution, but one marked by determination and resilience. Government efforts to suppress the movement have only highlighted the courage of those involved. Across Iran, new Christian converts share their transformative experiences with friends and loved ones, carefully navigating the risks that come with their newfound faith. For these believers, safe spaces are essential. Hidden house churches and discreet Bible study groups offer a sense of community and refuge. These gatherings, often consisting of no more than 10 to 15 individuals, take place in modest apartments or unassuming homes. The secrecy is meticulous. As the final attendee arrives and the door locks, a collective sigh of relief fills the room. For a brief moment, they find peace and solidarity in their shared faith. However, this fragile sense of safety is frequently shattered by government raids. Authorities execute these operations with military precision, targeting leaders who are seen as the linchpins of these underground networks. Arrested without warning, these leaders face severe punishment, including detention in facilities designed to break their spirit through solitary confinement, torture, and relentless psychological pressure. The government's objective is clear: to force these believers to renounce their faith and return to Islam. Detainees endure harsh conditions, cut off from family, legal aid, and any semblance of fairness. They are often charged with vague offenses such as acting against national security. Even after completing their sentences, the nightmare persists. Released converts are placed under strict surveillance, their every movement and communication monitored by a regime that views them as ongoing threats. Yet, despite these risks, the appeal of Christianity continues to grow. For many Iranians, the teachings of Jesus offer a message of hope and liberation in a society marred by injustice, corruption, and oppression. The regime's fear-driven tactics may aim to suppress this spiritual movement, but the numbers tell a different story. Christianity is quietly gaining ground, providing a glimmer of hope in a nation yearning for change. This shift resonates deeply with the words of Jesus in Matthew 10:22. "You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved." For Iranian Christians, these words hold profound significance. They endure unimaginable persecution, yet remain steadfast in their faith, their courage shining brightly in the face of constant threats of violence, imprisonment, and worse. Interestingly, while the government responds with harsh repression, many friends and family members of converts exhibit a more understanding attitude. As Todd Nettleton of The Voice of the Martyrs explains, their perspective often shifts to one of acceptance. If you've discovered something that works for you, whether it's Jesus, atheism, or anything else, that's great. I just know Islam doesn't work, so I'm glad you found something else that does. This pragmatic approach highlights the growing disillusionment with the regime's religious and political narrative. This grassroots spiritual movement is not confined to Iran. Don Schenck, executive director of the Tide Ministry, emphasizes that Iran represents just one part of a larger trend sweeping across the Muslim world. Similar movements toward Christianity are emerging in other Islamic countries, signaling a deeper, irreversible shift fueled by a longing for freedom, truth, and hope. One striking aspect of this phenomenon is the role of dreams and visions of Jesus, reported by many Muslims. These experiences often mark the beginning of profound spiritual journeys. While they do not always lead directly to conversion, they frequently help individuals navigate deeply ingrained cultural and religious barriers. For many, these visions open the door to exploring Christianity and forming meaningful connections with Christian believers. Schenck notes that people who have these experiences often share similar reflections. "I now realize how much God loves me. I've always believed that He desires to punish me." In Islamic culture, dreams and visions are often interpreted as divine communication. For Muslims who dream of Jesus, these experiences resonate deeply, conveying a message of compassion, love, and guidance that starkly contrasts with their previous understanding of God. These encounters frequently leave individuals questioning their beliefs and seeking answers in the teachings of Jesus, marking the start of a spiritual awakening. The transformative power of these visions has drawn attention not only in Iran, where the phenomenon is most frequently reported, but also across the Muslim world. Schenck believes that what is happening in Iran is part of a broader movement affecting the entire Islamic world. In countries like Afghanistan, secretive Christians face grave risks as they practice their faith under oppressive regimes. Yet, their determination mirrors that of their counterparts in Iran. This growing wave of conversions represents a profound and irreversible shift. Fueled by disillusionment with oppressive systems and a longing for spiritual freedom, more people are turning to Christianity despite the enormous risks involved. The regime's attempts to suppress this movement only underscore the resilience and courage of those who find hope in the teachings of Jesus. In the face of relentless persecution, their faith remains unshaken, offering a powerful testament to the transformative and liberating message of Christianity.
Iranians are growing tired of the Ayatollahs and a nation led by the empty promises of their...
The ever-present threat of Taliban persecution casts a long shadow over the lives of Christians in Afghanistan. The risk of exposure creates a pervasive atmosphere of distrust among believers, forcing them to navigate a constant fear of infiltration. In such a high-stakes environment, the decision to embrace Christianity carries the very real threat of death. Despite these overwhelming challenges, reports from within Afghanistan reveal a remarkable trend. A growing number of people are turning to Christianity. This movement is driven by an intense desire for a personal and redemptive relationship with God, which many find profoundly transformative. The courage of these new believers underscores the resilience of faith, even in the face of extreme danger. In Yemen, a similarly extraordinary phenomenon is unfolding. Studies suggest that the spread of Christianity in the country is occurring at nearly twice the global rate. This growth is particularly striking given Yemen's deeply rooted Islamic traditions and the ongoing humanitarian crises that have devastated the nation. For many Yemenis, the discovery of Christianity represents hope and renewal amid the relentless hardships of war and poverty. The message of redemption through Jesus resonates deeply, offering a sense of purpose and peace that transcends the struggles of daily life. Meanwhile, in Saudi Arabia, a nation long known for its strict interpretation of Islam, subtle but significant changes are emerging. For decades, the country rejected any form of religious plurality, maintaining an environment that was exceedingly hostile to Christians. However, recent developments suggest an evolving perspective. Todd Nettleton, a representative of the Voice of the Martyrs organization, observes that while challenges for Christians persist, the Saudi monarchy has begun to acknowledge the possibility of peaceful coexistence with Christians. This marks a dramatic shift from the rigid attitudes of the past. Even though the road to religious tolerance remains long and uncertain, these early signs of openness are encouraging for believers both within Saudi Arabia and across the region. The narrative of mass conversions to Christianity in the Muslim world has gained traction, amplified by social media. A viral tweet from conservative commentator DZA recently sparked widespread discussion, claiming that millions of Muslims are converting to Christianity. This claim ignited thousands of responses and fueled ongoing debates about the accuracy of such figures. An older interview from 2000 resurfaced during this discourse, featuring a statement by Islamic scholar Al-Qahtani that 667 Muslims were converting to Christianity every hour. This rate, according to Al-Qahtani, equated to 16,000 daily conversions and 6 million annually. While these numbers are undoubtedly astonishing, their lack of credible sources casts doubt on their validity. Despite these questionable statistics, anecdotal evidence suggests significant growth in Christianity among Muslims. Organizations like the Tide Ministry and the Voice of the Martyrs, along with personal testimonies from converts, highlight the increasing embrace of Christian faith in regions where it has historically faced severe opposition. For new believers in the Middle East, their spiritual awakening is seen as part of a broader movement of God's Spirit. This wave of transformation is not confined to individuals, but has the potential to reshape entire communities and nations. The impact of this spiritual revival transcends cultural and political expectations. In regions often labeled as Islamic strongholds, the Holy Spirit is breaking barriers and transforming lives. The universal message of the Bible, which calls all people to redemption through Jesus Christ, resonates deeply across borders, speaking directly to the hearts of individuals in every corner of the world. This movement is a testament to the profound and universal nature of God's love, which offers hope and renewal to those who have endured oppression, injustice, and despair. For many in the Middle East, the realization of God's unconditional love represents a revolutionary concept. In contrast to prevailing religious frameworks that often emphasize divine judgment and fear, Christianity introduces a God who is approachable, compassionate, and deeply invested in the well-being of His creation. This assurance of grace and forgiveness replaces the fear of divine punishment with a message of hope, freedom, and acceptance. For new believers, the shift from fear to grace is transformative, altering not just their spiritual outlook, but also their relationships, communities, and daily lives. This movement is not merely about personal faith. It is creating ripples across the social and cultural fabric of the region. In countries like Afghanistan, Yemen, and Saudi Arabia, the embrace of Christianity is challenging long-standing norms and assumptions. These spiritual transformations are fostering a new sense of identity and purpose, empowering individuals to live with hope and courage despite external adversities. The Middle East, long perceived as resistant to change, is now witnessing a quiet yet undeniable transformation. As more individuals accept the gift of salvation through Jesus Christ, the spiritual landscape of the region is shifting. This transformation is deeply rooted in a message of freedom, truth, and light that penetrates places long overshadowed by darkness. Even in the face of significant opposition, the love and truth of God continue to spread, softening hearts and inspiring hope where despair once prevailed. The courage of new believers is especially inspiring in light of the challenges they face. In regions dominated by strict religious laws, conversion to Christianity often invites severe repercussions, including social ostracism, imprisonment, and even death. Yet these individuals remain steadfast in their faith, driven by an unshakable conviction that their relationship with God is worth any sacrifice. Their stories of perseverance and faithfulness serve as powerful reminders of the strength and resilience that faith can inspire. In Yemen, the growth of Christianity amid the country's humanitarian crisis highlights the transformative power of hope. For those grappling with the devastating effects of war and poverty, the promise of redemption and renewal through Christ offers a beacon of light in the darkness. Similarly, in Saudi Arabia, the emerging signs of religious tolerance suggest that even the most entrenched systems can change. While these changes may be incremental, they represent a significant departure from the rigid ideologies of the past, opening the door to greater acceptance and coexistence. The role of social media in amplifying these narratives cannot be overstated. Platforms like Twitter and Facebook have become powerful tools for sharing stories of faith, connecting believers across borders, and inspiring curiosity about Christianity. While some claims circulating online may lack verification, the personal testimonies and grassroots reports that emerge from these platforms provide compelling evidence of a spiritual awakening in the Muslim world. At the heart of this movement lies the transformative power of God's love. For many new believers, the message of the Bible offers a profound sense of purpose and belonging. This sense of divine connection fosters resilience and hope, enabling individuals to navigate even the most challenging circumstances. In regions marked by political instability and social upheaval, the message of Christ's redemption brings not only personal healing, but also the potential for broader societal change. The spiritual shift taking place in the Middle East is reshaping lives and communities in ways that defy expectations. It is a movement rooted in love, hope, and the unshakable belief in God's power to transform hearts and nations. As this wave of renewal continues to spread, it serves as a powerful reminder of the universal call to redemption and the enduring strength of faith. In a world often overshadowed by darkness, the light of Christ shines brightly, offering freedom and salvation to all who seek it. When most people think of Iran, Christianity is not the religion that comes to mind. As the largest Shiite Muslim state in the world, Iran is deeply rooted in Islamic traditions, with its government enforcing strict religious principles. The Islamic Republic of Iran has built its foundation on the principles of Shiite Islam, maintaining tight control over religious expression and punishing dissenters with harsh measures. However, beneath this rigid exterior, a surprising transformation is quietly taking place: a surge in conversions from Islam to Christianity. This growing movement is reshaping the country's religious landscape and challenging the foundations of its theocratic regime. For decades, Iran's government has maintained an iron grip on religious practices, employing institutions like the morality police to enforce strict Islamic laws. The morality police have faced international condemnation for their severe measures, including an infamous case where a woman was allegedly shot for violating mandatory hijab laws. Such incidents reflect the oppressive environment in which religious conformity is mandated. Yet, despite these efforts, Signs of dissatisfaction with the regime's interpretation of Islam are increasingly evident. An alarming indicator of this discontent is the decline in mosque attendance across Iran. Reports suggest that approximately 50,000 out of the country's 75,000 mosques have closed due to a lack of worshippers. Senior Iranian cleric Mohammad Abul Qasim has acknowledged this decline, attributing it to a broader crisis of faith among Iranians. This trend coincides with reports of a significant religious shift. An estimated 1 million Muslims in Iran have embraced Christianity. This movement, often referred to as the Jesus Revolution, represents a profound spiritual and cultural transformation. Studies conducted by the Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, and the international radio ministry The Tide reveal the growing wave of conversions to Christianity, signaling a deeper undercurrent of religious change within the nation. The reasons behind this surge in Christian conversions are deeply intertwined with Iran's political, social, and economic struggles. For many Iranians, Christianity offers a stark contrast to the authoritarian and punitive nature of the Islamic regime. While the government's version of Islam emphasizes control and conformity, Christianity presents a message of hope, love, forgiveness, and personal connection to God. These principles resonate deeply with those disillusioned by decades of oppression. Todd Nettleton of Voice of the Martyrs highlights that Iran faces some of the highest rates of drug addiction in the world, alongside widespread corruption and poverty. Over half of the population lives below the poverty line, further eroding trust in the promises of the Islamic theocracy. These systemic failures have led many Iranians to question the spiritual and moral authority of their leaders, creating fertile ground for exploring alternative spiritual paths. Economic hardship has been a significant driver of this dissatisfaction. Iran's economy has suffered under international sanctions, mismanagement, and endemic corruption. The resulting poverty and despair have fueled disillusionment with political Islam. A survey by the Netherlands-based Gaman Institute found that 80% of Iranians desire a democratic government, rejecting the current Islamic Republic. This widespread discontent has created an environment in which Christianity is not only seen as a religion, but also as a means of liberation, spiritually, socially, and politically. For many Iranians, Christianity's emphasis on compassion, forgiveness, and personal agency provides an appealing alternative to the rigid doctrines of the Islamic regime. Converts often cite the religion's focus on a personal relationship with God as a transformative experience. In contrast to a system that ties religion to political power and control, Christianity offers a sense of freedom and solace. The words of Jesus, such as those in Matthew 11:28-30, hold profound meaning for those struggling under the weight of systemic injustice. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. For many Iranians, these words are not just a source of comfort, but a bold promise of peace and relief from their hardships. In a society where oppression and hardship are part of daily life, the teachings of Jesus offer hope and a path to freedom. Unsurprisingly, the Iranian government has responded harshly to the rise of Christianity. Conversion from Islam is forbidden, and apostates face severe punishments, including imprisonment and even death. The government's crackdown on Christianity is part of a broader strategy to maintain control over its population and suppress dissent. Despite these risks, the movement continues to grow, driven by underground churches and digital platforms that provide spaces for worship and education. These secretive hubs enable Christians to gather, learn, and strengthen their faith in defiance of government restrictions. Todd Nettleton emphasizes that this growth is not merely a rejection of Islam, but a reflection of Christianity's unique appeal. The religion's teachings of compassion, forgiveness, and personal empowerment resonate deeply with Iranians seeking an alternative to the authoritarian regime. For many, turning to Jesus is not just a spiritual choice, but a deeply personal act of resistance against a system that has failed them. Christianity's rise in Iran is more than a religious phenomenon. It is a symbol of personal freedom and resistance against an oppressive regime. In a country where religion and politics are tightly intertwined, the act of embracing Christianity represents a desire for change on multiple levels. It is a rejection of the empty promises of the Islamic theocracy and an assertion of individual agency and hope. This movement is reshaping Iran's religious landscape, challenging the authority of its theocratic regime and inspiring broader calls for reform. The growing interest in Christianity aligns with the aspirations of many Iranians for democracy, human rights, and equality. As a result, religion has become a focal point for resistance, offering both spiritual liberation and a vision of a more just and equitable society. Iran's transformation is a testament to the enduring power of faith and the human spirit's resilience in the face of oppression. The rise of Christianity in the heart of the Islamic Republic reflects a profound cultural and spiritual shift, driven by a longing for hope, freedom, and connection. For many Iranians, the teachings of Jesus offer not only solace, but a pathway to liberation, challenging the very foundations of the regime that seeks to suppress them. As this quiet revolution unfolds, it is reshaping the nation's identity and inspiring a new generation to envision a future defined not by oppression, but by compassion, love, and faith. In the words of Jesus, it is a call to the weary and burdened, a call that many in Iran are answering with courage and conviction. Iran, a nation where the government's power rests heavily on strict interpretations of Islam, is witnessing an unexpected challenge to its ideological foundation. Christianity, with its transformative message of love, forgiveness, and hope, is quietly taking root among Iranians disillusioned by decades of hardship, corruption, and unfulfilled promises. This shift is not merely a spiritual awakening, but a profound statement against a system many feel has failed them. To choose Christianity in Iran is to reject the status quo, a bold act in a country where faith and politics are deeply intertwined. For years, Iranians have faced a host of challenges. Widespread poverty, systemic corruption, and one of the highest rates of drug addiction in the world have eroded trust in the government. Many see these struggles as the outcome of a system that promised justice and dignity through Islam, but has delivered little in return. In this context, Christianity offers a striking alternative. Unlike the rigid and controlling framework many associate with the state's version of Islam, Christianity speaks of a personal relationship with God, built on compassion rather than control. For those weighed down by the harsh realities of daily life, this message feels deeply human and accessible. The growth of Christianity in Iran has not gone unnoticed by the authorities. The Iranian government perceives this spiritual movement as a direct threat, not only to their religious authority, but also to the political system that depends on it. For the regime, Islam is more than a faith. It is the backbone of their governance. If people begin to find hope and meaning outside this framework, it undermines the very foundation of their control. In response, the government has cracked down hard. Underground churches are raided, Christian converts are arrested, and public expressions of faith are monitored closely. The regime's fear is palpable. They understand that the more people embrace Christianity, the more fragile their grip on power becomes. Yet, despite the risks, the movement continues to grow. Many converts rely on digital platforms and secret gatherings to practice their faith and support one another. This quiet, yet determined revolution highlights the resilience of those involved. For new Christian converts in Iran, the journey of faith is fraught with danger. Safe spaces for spiritual seekers, hidden house churches, and discreet Bible study groups offer refuge, but remain under constant threat. These small gatherings, often consisting of no more than 10 to 15 believers, take place in unassuming locations such as modest apartments or inconspicuous homes. As the final attendee arrives and the door locks, a wave of relief sweeps over the group. In these fleeting moments, they embrace the safety of their community. However, this fragile peace is often shattered by sudden raids. Authorities, executing military precision operations, storm these gatherings, targeting leaders who are seen as the linchpins of the underground networks. These leaders face severe punishment, including detention in facilities designed to break their spirit. Solitary confinement, torture, and relentless psychological pressure are wielded to force believers to renounce their faith and return to Islam. Detainees endure harsh conditions, cut off from family and legal aid, as they face vague charges such as acting against national security. Even after completing their sentences, their ordeal is far from over. The government continues to monitor their movements and communications, ensuring their lives remain under constant scrutiny. Despite these risks, the movement persists and even flourishes. Christianity is quietly gaining ground in Iran, resonating deeply with those who feel disillusioned by the injustices, corruption, and oppression that define their daily lives. Converts often share the profound changes in their lives with friends and loved ones, navigating the dangerous realities of their newfound faith with care and caution. These stories of transformation speak of hope, liberation, and a radical departure from the despair many have known. This shift aligns with Jesus' words in Matthew 10:22. "You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved." These prophetic words resonate deeply with Iranian Christians, who endure unimaginable persecution, yet remain steadfast in their faith. Their courage and resilience shine as they navigate constant threats of violence, imprisonment, and worse. Interestingly, while the government responds with harsh repression, the reaction from friends and family members of converts is often more understanding. As Todd Nettleton of Voice of the Martyrs explains, many adopt a live and let live perspective. If you've discovered something that works for you, whether it's Jesus, atheism, or anything else, that's great. I just know Islam doesn't work, so I'm glad you found something else that does. This attitude reflects a growing disillusionment with the state's version of Islam and an openness to alternative paths. Iran's quiet Christian revolution is not happening in isolation. According to Don Schenk, executive director of the Tide Ministry, this movement is part of a larger trend across the Muslim world. What's happening in Iran is just the tip of the iceberg, he notes, highlighting similar spiritual awakenings in other Islamic nations. These movements are fueled by a longing for freedom, truth, and hope, values that many feel are absent in their current socio-political contexts. Reports from the Tide Ministry reveal a compelling phenomenon. Many Muslims are experiencing dreams and visions of Jesus. These encounters often mark the beginning of profound spiritual journeys. While not all of these experiences lead directly to conversion, they frequently help individuals navigate deeply ingrained cultural and religious barriers. For many, these visions open the door to exploring Christianity and connecting with believers in meaningful ways. The Iranian government's fear-driven tactics aim to suppress the growing Christian movement, but the numbers tell a different story. Despite persecution, the wave of conversions signals a deeper, irreversible shift. As more Iranians are drawn to the teachings of Jesus, they find a message of hope and liberation amidst the challenges of their daily lives. This grassroots spiritual movement, built on courage and resilience, reflects the profound human longing for freedom, truth, and connection. While the regime fights to maintain control, the quiet revolution of faith continues to grow, one believer at a time. For those involved, it is not merely a change of religion, but a declaration of independence from a system they no longer believe in. And in their courage, they embody the hope that change, both spiritual and societal, is not only possible, but inevitable. The transformative power of faith, the rise of Christianity in the Muslim world. The story of religious conversion is often one of personal transformation, but in regions where strict religious doctrines dominate, the journey to a new faith can be fraught with danger and profound societal implications. One of the most striking movements in recent years is the growing number of Muslims in Iran and other parts of the Middle East embracing Christianity. This shift is not only reshaping the religious landscape, but is also challenging deeply entrenched cultural and political norms. The significance of this change is highlighted by experiences shared by many converts, particularly those who have encountered dreams and visions of Jesus, a powerful phenomenon within Islamic culture, where dreams are often seen as divine communication. Shank, a representative of the Tide Ministry, explains that many people who have these transformative experiences often share similar reflections. They report a profound realization of God's love, contrasting sharply with the fear-based understanding they previously had of God. One of the most striking aspects of these conversions is the role of dreams and visions, which hold special significance in Islamic culture. For Muslims, dreams are often interpreted as a form of divine communication. Thus, when a Muslim dreams of Jesus, the experience resonates deeply, offering a message of compassion, love, and guidance that starkly contrasts with their prior conceptions of God, which often emphasized punishment and fear. These dreams and visions are not just symbolic, they are spiritual awakenings that mark the beginning of a profound shift in belief and personal identity. This spiritual awakening is not isolated to Iran. Shank believes that the phenomenon in Iran is part of a much larger movement sweeping across the Muslim world. In countries like Afghanistan, secretive Christians face grave risks as they practice their faith under the ever-present threat of Taliban persecution. The danger of exposure forces believers to live in constant fear, navigating a delicate balance of secrecy and trust. For them, accepting Christ is not just a spiritual decision, it is one fraught with the very real threat of death. However, despite the tremendous risks, reports from Afghanistan suggest that there is a growing number of converts to Christianity, driven by a desire for a deeply personal and redemptive relationship with God. Yemen presents another striking example of this spiritual movement. Despite the country's deeply rooted Islamic traditions and the ongoing humanitarian crisis, studies indicate that the spread of Christianity in Yemen is occurring at nearly twice the global rate. This remarkable growth is all the more significant, given the hostile environment in which it is taking place. The people of Yemen, struggling with severe poverty and conflict, are turning to Christianity as a beacon of hope and liberation. In this context, Christianity offers not only spiritual fulfillment, but a vision of peace and a promise of redemption that contrasts sharply with the hardship and oppression they face daily. Meanwhile, even in Saudi Arabia, a country historically known for its strict interpretation of Islam, there are signs of a shift in attitudes toward religious tolerance. Nettleton, of Voice of the Martyrs, observes that while the environment for Christians in Saudi Arabia remains challenging, there are indications that the Saudi monarchy has begun to acknowledge the possibility of peaceful coexistence with Christians. This marks a significant shift from the attitudes of a decade or two ago, when any form of religious plurality was firmly rejected. Such developments indicate a softening of religious policies and a growing recognition of the need for tolerance, even in a nation where strict Islamic orthodoxy has long been the norm. The narrative of mass conversions from Islam to Christianity has gained widespread attention, particularly through social media. A viral tweet from conservative commentator Za claimed that millions of Muslims are converting to Christianity, sparking widespread discussion and garnering thousands of responses. While these claims, including an older interview from 2000 in which it was stated that 667 Muslims were converting to Christianity every hour, have not been backed by credible sources, the anecdotal evidence gathered from organizations such as the Tide Ministry and Voice of the Martyrs provides compelling support for the growing trend of conversions. Personal testimonies from converts underscore the scale and depth of this movement, suggesting that Christianity is spreading rapidly across Muslim-majority regions. In regions often labeled as Islamic strongholds, the spread of Christianity is becoming a wave of transformation that holds the potential to reshape not just individual lives, but entire nations. The Holy Spirit is breaking through barriers and changing lives in ways that defy cultural and political expectations. This movement is not confined to any one country or community. It is a testament to the profound and universal nature of God's love, offering hope and renewal to people who have long endured oppression, injustice, and despair. For many new believers in the Middle East, their spiritual awakening represents a revolutionary shift in their understanding of God. The realization of God's unconditional love replaces the fear of divine punishment with the assurance of grace and forgiveness. This understanding introduces a God who is approachable, compassionate, and deeply invested in their well-being. In a region where divine power has often been associated with fear and retribution, the message of Christianity provides a radically different understanding of the divine, one that offers hope, healing, and redemption. This shift in religious belief is not just a matter of personal faith. It is creating ripples across the social and cultural fabric of the Middle East. The region, long viewed as resistant to change, is experiencing a quiet but undeniable transformation. As individuals come to embrace the gift of salvation through Jesus, the spiritual landscape of the region is beginning to shift. This transformation is rooted in a message that brings freedom, truth, and light to places that have long been overshadowed by darkness. Despite the significant opposition and the real dangers that Christians face in many of these countries, the love and truth of God continue to penetrate these regions, softening hearts and inspiring hope where there was once only despair. The transformative power of God's love is gradually but steadily reshaping the Middle East, offering new possibilities for a region that has been marred by conflict, oppression, and division for so long. For many, this movement is not just about personal salvation. It is about reclaiming hope in the face of overwhelming hardship and building a future rooted in freedom, truth, and peace. This wave of conversion is a sign that the power of faith is not confined by borders, politics, or religion. It is a reminder that the message of Jesus transcends all barriers, offering hope and healing to those in need, wherever they may be. The growing number of Muslims embracing Christianity in the Middle East is a testament to the enduring power of the gospel to transform lives and nations, and it marks the beginning of a new chapter in the history of the region. A chapter defined not by fear and oppression, but by love, grace, and redemption. The missionaries also witnessed an outpouring of support from the international Christian community. Churches and organizations around the world sent aid and prayers, moved by the miraculous event in Gaza. This global support provided much-needed resources and encouragement to the new believers, reinforcing the idea that they were part of a larger, loving community. The significance of this event cannot be overstated. In a place where hope is often in short supply, the appearance of Jesus in the dreams of over 200 men brought a wave of faith, love, and unity. It reminded everyone that no matter how dire the circumstances, God's love is ever present and powerful enough to bring about change. As Isaiah 41:10 says, "So, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Let's consider the broader context of biblical prophecies. The Bible is filled with references to dreams and visions as means through which God communicates with his people. For instance, in Genesis 37, Joseph had dreams that foretold his future and the future of his family. These dreams were significant in shaping the course of his life and the lives of those around him. Similarly, the dreams of the men in Gaza are shaping their futures and the future of their community. The significance of dreams in the Bible is further emphasized in Matthew 1:20, where an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit." This dream guided Joseph and reassured him of God's plan. The dreams experienced by the men in Gaza serve a similar purpose, guiding them towards a new faith and reassuring them of God's presence and plan for their lives. Another relevant prophecy is found in Joel 3:16, which states, "The Lord will roar from Zion and thunder from Jerusalem. The earth and the heavens will tremble, but the Lord will be a refuge for his people, a stronghold for the people of Israel." This verse speaks to the protective and guiding nature of God. The visions of Jesus provide a refuge for the men in Gaza, offering them spiritual strength and guidance amidst the chaos of their surroundings. The emotional impact of these visions cannot be overstated. For many of these men, their dreams of Jesus were a source of immense comfort and hope. They found solace in the knowledge that God had not forgotten them, even in their darkest moments. This profound spiritual experience mirrors the promise found in Isaiah 40:31, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." The visions in Gaza are a vivid reminder that God's prophecies are not confined to the past. They are being fulfilled in our present. They show us that God's Spirit is active and moving in the world, bringing hope, transformation, and renewal. This miraculous event is a testament to the enduring power of faith and the fulfillment of God's promises. These biblical connections provide a powerful framework for understanding the significance of the visions in Gaza. They remind us that God's word is living and active, continuing to guide and inspire us today. The fulfillment of these prophecies in such a profound and tangible way strengthens our faith and reinforces the truth of the Bible. What exactly are miracles, and why are they significant in our faith? In simple terms, a miracle is an extraordinary event that defies natural laws and can only be attributed to divine intervention. These events serve as tangible manifestations of God's power and presence in our world. Miracles play a crucial role in Christianity for several reasons. Firstly, they act as signs that point to the divine nature of Jesus Christ and affirm his authority and mission on earth. They provide concrete evidence of God's involvement in human affairs, strengthening the faith of believers and drawing non-believers towards faith. In John 20:30-31, we read, "Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name." Historically, the Bible is replete with accounts of divine interventions that have left an indelible mark on humanity. One of the earliest and most dramatic examples is the parting of the Red Sea. In Exodus 14:21-22, we see Moses stretching out his hand over the sea, and with God's power, the waters divided, allowing the Israelites to escape from the pursuing Egyptians. This miraculous event not only demonstrated God's saving power, but also solidified the faith of the Israelites in their covenant with God. Another profound miracle is found in the story of Elijah and the prophets of Baal in 1 Kings 18:36-39. Here, Elijah calls upon the Lord to demonstrate his power, and fire falls from heaven, consuming the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and even the water in the trench. This miraculous display decisively proved that the Lord is the true God, turning the hearts of the people back to Him. In the New Testament, Jesus performed numerous miracles that showcased His divine authority and compassion. One of the most well-known is the raising of Lazarus from the dead, found in John 11:43-44. Jesus called out in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" And the man who had been dead for 4 days walked out of the tomb. This miracle not only demonstrated Jesus' power over life and death, but also prefigured His own resurrection. The feeding of the 5,000 is another powerful example. In Matthew 14:13-21, with only 5 loaves and 2 fish, Jesus fed a multitude, illustrating His ability to provide abundantly for our needs. This miracle also highlighted the importance of sharing and community, values that are central to Christian life.
A home church being raided, everyone there is photographed, everyone there is questioned.
45 years after the establishment of Islamic theocracy in Iran, disillusionment with the Ayatollah's regime is growing. An anonymous internal poll suggests that 80% of Iranians now favor a democratic government, reflecting widespread dissatisfaction with the current system. Many citizens are also turning away from Islam, frustrated by unfulfilled promises and systemic issues plaguing the nation. Iran faces one of the highest drug addiction rates globally, pervasive corruption, and a stark reality where over half the population lives below the poverty line. Amid this challenging environment, many Iranians are reevaluating their beliefs and exploring alternative spiritual paths. Todd Nettleton, a representative of the Voice of the Martyrs, highlights that Christianity has become an increasingly compelling alternative. Over 1 million Iranians have reportedly converted from Islam to Christianity. This growing movement has alarmed the Iranian regime, leading to harsh crackdowns. Approximately 50,000 of the nation's 75,000 mosques have been shuttered, a response to declining attendance and the rise of Christian conversions. Authorities have intensified their efforts by raiding Bible studies and home churches, interrogating attendees, and arresting leaders. Despite these actions, the Christian faith continues to gain momentum, driven in part by grassroots efforts and a deep spiritual yearning among Iranians. Interestingly, while the government reacts aggressively, family and friends of those who leave Islam often adopt a more tolerant attitude. Nettleton notes that many take a pragmatic approach, expressing sentiments like, "If it works for you, that's fine." This growing acceptance within personal circles underscores a broader cultural shift, not only in Iran, but across the Muslim world. Don Shank, executive director of the Tide Ministry, observes a fascinating phenomenon contributing to this change. Muslims across the Middle East are experiencing dreams and visions that profoundly alter their understanding of God. These experiences often replace fear of divine punishment with a newfound awareness of God's love. Shank emphasizes that such encounters, coupled with ministries like radio broadcasts, are leading to transformative faith journeys. For instance, the Tide Ministry has received positive responses from Afghanistan, where the Taliban's oppressive presence makes practicing Christianity extremely dangerous. Converts in such regions risk more than ostracism. They face the very real threat of death. Christianity's growth isn't confined to Iran or Afghanistan. Yemen has also witnessed a rapid increase in conversions, with the Joshua Project reporting that the growth rate of Christianity there is nearly double the global average. Even in Saudi Arabia, a nation historically hostile to religious diversity, signs of change are emerging. The monarchy has shown a more accepting stance toward Christians and their places of worship, marking a significant departure from past policies. These developments suggest the possibility of a broader spiritual transformation across the Middle East. While Iran grapples with internal crises and an increasingly skeptical populace, the rise of Christianity offers hope for many. This trend points not only to the potential for societal and spiritual renewal within Iran, but also to ripple effects that could reshape the entire region.
A revolution is underway in parts of the region. a Jesus revolution. An unprecedented number of Muslims are forsaking Islam and choosing to follow Christ, especially in Iran.
Iran, known as the world's largest Shiite Muslim state, is deeply rooted in Islamic traditions and has a reputation for its strict enforcement of religious principles. Its theocratic regime is built upon the principles of Shiite Islam, tightly controlling religious expression and often punishing dissenters harshly. However, beneath the surface of this rigid structure, a profound transformation is quietly unfolding, a surge of conversions from Islam to Christianity. This growing movement is reshaping Iran's religious landscape and challenging the very foundation of its theocratic government. The Iranian government employs various measures to enforce Islamic laws and maintain religious conformity. Institutions like the morality police are tasked with punishing those who deviate from prescribed behaviors, such as failing to adhere to mandatory hijab laws. This has led to international scrutiny, especially following incidents like the alleged shooting of a woman for such a violation. These harsh methods reflect the regime's determination to uphold its ideology, but they have also exposed growing cracks in its control. Dissatisfaction with these oppressive measures has become increasingly visible, revealing a broader crisis of faith among the Iranian population. One stark indicator of this dissatisfaction is the reported closure of approximately 50,000 of Iran's 75,000 mosques due to declining attendance. Senior clerics have acknowledged this trend, pointing to a significant drop in patronage. This shift aligns with reports that nearly 1 million Muslims in Iran have embraced Christianity, marking a dramatic cultural and spiritual shift. This movement, sometimes referred to as a Jesus revolution, has gained momentum despite significant risks and barriers, signaling a transformation that extends beyond mere statistics. The reasons for this wave of conversions are deeply intertwined with Iran's social, political, and economic struggles. For many, Christianity offers a stark contrast to the authoritarian and punitive nature of the Islamic regime. It provides a message of hope, love, forgiveness, and a personal connection to God, principles that resonate with individuals disillusioned by decades of oppression. Iran's social fabric is strained by systemic failures, including some of the highest drug addiction rates globally, widespread corruption, and poverty affecting more than half the population. These challenges have eroded trust in the Islamic theocracy, prompting many to explore alternative spiritual paths. Economic hardship has been a particularly significant driver of this discontent. Years of international sanctions, government mismanagement, and corruption have devastated Iran's economy, plunging millions into poverty. These conditions have left many Iranians questioning the promises of the Islamic regime. Surveys, such as one conducted by the Netherlands-based Gaman Institute, reveal that up to 80% of Iranians desire a democratic government, rejecting the Islamic Republic in its current form. Disillusionment with political Islam has created fertile ground for exploring alternative beliefs, with Christianity emerging as a beacon of hope and liberation for many. In this context, Christianity is not merely seen as a religion, but as a means of spiritual and social liberation. The association of Christian-majority nations with democracy and human rights appeals to Iranians yearning for freedom and equality. This growing interest in Christianity also aligns with broader calls for political and social reform, suggesting that religion is becoming a focal point for resistance against the regime. By embracing Christianity, many Iranians are making a statement about their desire for personal freedom and a rejection of the rigid constraints imposed by the Islamic theocracy. Unsurprisingly, Iran's Islamic leadership has responded harshly to this rising wave of conversions. Apostasy, leaving Islam for another faith, is strictly forbidden and often punished with imprisonment or even death. The government has intensified its efforts to suppress the spread of Christianity, targeting underground churches and Christian communities. Despite these risks, the movement continues to grow, fueled by underground churches and digital platforms that serve as hubs for worship and education. These channels have allowed Christianity to flourish even under the shadow of state surveillance and persecution. Todd Nettleton of Voice of the Martyrs highlights that this surge in conversions is not solely about dissatisfaction with Islam, but also reflects the unique appeal of Christianity. Many converts cite Christianity's emphasis on compassion, forgiveness, and a personal relationship with God as key factors in their decision. For individuals who feel disillusioned and disempowered by systemic injustices, the teachings of Jesus offer a powerful sense of hope and agency. The Bible's message, especially passages like Matthew 11:28-30, resonates deeply with those burdened by hardship. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," Jesus says. These words provide solace and a promise of peace to people who feel abandoned by their government and society. For many Iranians, Christianity represents more than just a spiritual belief. It has become a symbol of personal freedom and resistance. In a system where religion and politics are tightly interwoven, turning to Jesus is a deeply personal act of defiance. It signifies a rejection of the empty promises of the Islamic theocracy and a search for something more meaningful. This growing movement is not just about spiritual renewal. It reflects the profound yearning of a people who feel stifled by oppression and abandoned by their leaders. Despite the risks involved, the resilience of Iran's Christian movement is a testament to its profound impact. Underground churches and digital spaces continue to provide avenues for worship, community, and education. The government's attempts to suppress Christianity have not extinguished the faith, but instead highlighted its growing significance as a force of change. Converts often speak of the transformative power of their newfound faith, finding hope and solace in its message of love and redemption. In a nation where hardship and repression have become part of daily life, Christianity offers many Iranians a sense of relief and liberation. It is not merely a religious conversion, but a deeply personal and symbolic rejection of a system that has failed to meet their spiritual and material needs. For those who feel trapped by the authoritarian regime, turning to Christianity is akin to finding a way to breathe again. This quiet revolution is reshaping Iran's religious landscape, challenging the foundations of its theocratic regime and offering a message of hope to a population yearning for change. In Iran, a nation where the government's power is rooted in a strict interpretation of Islam, choosing Christianity is more than a spiritual decision. It is a profound political statement. Converting to Christianity directly challenges the foundation of a system that has long governed Iranian life. For decades, the Iranian people have endured widespread poverty, rampant corruption, and one of the highest rates of drug addiction globally. These grim realities have shattered faith in a regime that promised justice and dignity through its rigid religious framework. For many Iranians, this disillusionment has created an openness to exploring alternatives, and Christianity, with its radically different message, has become a beacon of hope. Christianity offers something starkly different from the state's vision of Islam. Its central tenets, love, forgiveness, and hope, serve as an antidote to the harshness of daily life. The idea of a compassionate, personal relationship with God resonates deeply with those seeking solace and meaning. Unlike the controlling and punitive framework many associate with the Iranian government's interpretation of Islam, Christianity presents a faith centered on grace and humanity. This stark contrast has drawn thousands of Iranians to explore this spiritual path, one that feels more accessible and life-affirming. This movement has not gone unnoticed by the Iranian government, which views the growth of Christianity as an existential threat. To the regime, the rise of Christian faith undermines not only its religious authority, but also the legitimacy of its entire political system. In response, authorities have cracked down hard. Underground churches are raided, Christian converts are arrested, and public expressions of faith are closely monitored. The government's fear is clear. If people find hope and purpose outside its version of Islam, the system loses its grip on power. Despite these risks, the Christian movement in Iran continues to grow. Many converts rely on digital platforms to learn and share their faith, while others attend secret gatherings to worship together and find support. These underground networks, often formed in discreet Bible study groups or house churches, operate under constant threat. Typically, these meetings take place in unassuming locations like modest apartments, with no more than 10 to 15 believers gathering at a time. The arrival of the final attendee often brings a collective sigh of relief as the group locks the door and embraces the fleeting safety of their hidden community. Yet, this fragile peace is frequently shattered by the precision raids of authorities, who target these gatherings as a direct affront to their control. Leaders of these underground churches are singled out for particularly harsh punishment. Taken without warning, they are subjected to solitary confinement, torture, and relentless psychological pressure in detention facilities designed to break their spirits. The goal is clear: force these individuals to renounce their faith and return to Islam. The conditions are brutal, with detainees cut off from family, denied legal representation, and subjected to vague charges such as acting against national security. Even after serving their sentences, the ordeal is far from over. Former detainees remain under strict surveillance, their movements and communications closely monitored by a government determined to extinguish any signs of resistance. Yet despite this severe repression, the Christian faith continues to spread. For many Iranians, the teachings of Jesus offer a message of hope and liberation that stands in stark contrast to the injustice, corruption, and oppression they face daily. This spiritual awakening reflects a quiet but determined revolution, and the regime's fear-driven tactics have inadvertently highlighted the resilience of those involved. Across the country, new Christian converts share their stories with care and caution, inspiring others while navigating the dangerous reality of their newfound faith. While the government remains hostile, the responses of friends and family to these conversions are often more understanding. According to Todd Nettleton of Voice of the Martyrs, many individuals adopt a pragmatic view. If you've discovered something that works for you, whether it's Jesus, atheism, or anything else, that's great. I just know Islam doesn't work, so I'm glad you found something else that does. This grassroots spiritual movement reflects a broader disillusionment with the status quo and a willingness to explore alternative sources of hope and truth. Iran's Christian awakening is part of a larger trend across the Muslim world. Don Schenk, executive director of the Tide Ministry, emphasizes that Iran represents just one piece of a broader spiritual shift. Similar movements toward Christianity are emerging in other Islamic countries, fueled by a deep longing for freedom, truth, and hope. Remarkably, many Muslims report experiencing dreams and visions of Jesus, phenomena that often mark the beginning of profound spiritual journeys. These encounters, frequently interpreted as divine communication, resonate deeply in Islamic culture and provide individuals with a powerful catalyst to reconsider their beliefs. Dreams and visions of Jesus are particularly significant in Iran, where reports of such experiences are most common. These encounters often portray Jesus as a figure of compassion, love, and guidance, offering a stark contrast to the punitive image of God many grew up with. For those who experience these visions, the realization that God loves them and desires a personal relationship can be transformative. While not all such experiences lead directly to conversion, they often inspire individuals to explore Christianity and connect with other believers, breaking down deeply ingrained cultural and religious barriers. This phenomenon is not limited to Iran. In countries like Afghanistan, secretive Christian communities face equally grave risks, but the movement persists. Believers navigate an environment of constant surveillance and danger, yet they remain steadfast in their faith. Across the Muslim world, these personal encounters with Jesus are reshaping spiritual landscapes, fostering connections between seekers and Christian communities, and initiating quiet revolutions of faith. The resilience and courage of Iranian Christians shine through their persecution. As they endure threats of violence, imprisonment, and worse, many find solace in the words of Jesus. "You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved." Matthew 10:22. These prophetic words resonate deeply with believers, inspiring them to remain steadfast despite unimaginable hardship. Their faith embodies a profound hope that challenges the oppressive systems around them. The Iranian government's efforts to suppress this spiritual movement reveal both its fear and its limitations. While repression aims to control, it cannot extinguish the deep longing for freedom and truth that drives this grassroots awakening. The growing number of Christian converts in Iran and beyond signals a deeper, irreversible shift. Fueled by a longing for hope and liberation, this movement represents more than a religious conversion. It is a testament to the human spirit's unyielding pursuit of justice and dignity in the face of oppression.